Prince William grew up mostly in his father's house at St. James Palace in London. On his 18th birthday, his father gave him a motorcycle. The idea was that the motorcycle, and especially the helmet, would allow the future king to travel through London incognito, to move among his people in a way that would never otherwise be possible. William knew that his mother would never approve, and that even his father was reluctant.
My father's concerned about the fact I'm into motorbikes, but he doesn't want to keep me all wrapped up in cotton wool. You might as well live if you're going to live. It's just something I'm passionate about.
Prince Charles felt that he was overprotected and programmed growing up, and wanted to spare his oldest son the same fate. He said, "You can't understand what it's like to have your whole life mapped out for you. It's so awful to be programmed." This reluctance to accept a royal life is a topic that Prince William generally avoids discussing publicly, although his brother Harry has said he wishes he had not been born a prince.
I wish that quite a lot, actually, Peter. As William and I have said numerous times, there's a lot of opportunities that we miss out on, as well as we obviously get a lot of chances for who we are.
Prince William did reflect on his fate during a private visit to Patagonia, Chile, with a group of college students during his gap year in 2000. The group spent a month building and painting houses for poor villagers, sleeping on the floor of a local school dormitory. One day, William was sitting around a camp stove listening to his tripmates describing their bold plans and dreams for the future. According to those present, he said, "You're all so lucky. I don't have much choice about my future. One day I will be king, and to be honest, I'm not much interested in all that at the moment." Malcolm Sutherland accompanied Prince William on that expedition and remembers his expressions of reluctance to be king.
The pressure on William is enormous. It's absolutely greater than anyone could ever imagine, I would think.
You think it's a sensible reaction for a person to have?
I'm certainly not surprised at all that he was sort of really weighing things up and looking at things realistically to think, yeah, the future is going to be tough.
I think when you're very young, particularly in your teens, the idea of being king, unless you're incredibly self-regarding, is a bit frightening. I mean, in a way, why would you want to be? It means your whole life is charted out for you. You could never really get a proper job. I think he thought, is this really will I never be allowed to just get on with my life? And the answer is no.
No matter how reluctant he might occasionally be, William is destined to be king. That fact has informed every calculation about his upbringing and schooling. It enters into every decision about his life and career today. His father had an informal panel of advisors to consult even about vacation destinations for the young prince. Apparently, there are a lot of key ingredients in the recipe for the making of a king. When William and Harry were very young, their mother was intent that they should have an upbringing that was as normal as possible. Diana would give them pocket money and arrange trips outside the palace in disguise to allow them to spend it. They would sneak out the side gate near her Kensington Palace apartment and come over to the W.H. Smith store on Kensington High Street in London, where the boys would be allowed to spend their pocket money on sweets from the display near the cash and have to decide which ones they could afford. Afterwards, the three would go to this McDonald's for Happy Meals. The boys loved these clandestine adventures.
I think she wanted her children to feel that they were part of normal society and that they were not set apart. And also, frankly, to have some fun, because, you know, where's the fun in having a burger that you've made yourself or a chef has made in Kensington Palace when you can go out to McDonald's? I mean, if you're 6, McDonald's is infinitely more exciting.
Both William and Harry were sent off to high school at Eton, the most famous boarding school in England. The Duke of Wellington famously said that the Battle of Waterloo was won on the playing fields at Eton, where the leaders of the United Kingdom have always been molded. Here, Prince William learned to live with others his own age, and even tried his hand at cooking, with mixed results.
Do something, quickly!
William was at Eton when, along with 20 million other Britons, he watched his mother appear on the BBC programme Panorama in November 1995, where she confessed her own infidelities and suggested that her marriage was ruined by Prince Charles's affair with Camilla Parker Bowles.
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
Dickie Arbiter was press secretary to Charles and Diana at that time.
Everybody had a very strong reaction when Diana went on Panorama. None of us knew about it. It was something that Diana had arranged quite clandestinely with the BBC, and it was a bit unfortunate, and it did affect both William and Harry, because at the end of the day they were at school, their school chums heard about it, and kids tease each other.
It was reported that Prince William was furious with his mother, that he screamed at her and made her swear never to do any such thing again.
He went through a very bad time. I think he went through a time of despair and unhappiness. And like all kids, he just wanted his parents to get on and stay together. And it was clear, even to a young boy, that after that interview, that was over. The moment she said, there are 3 people in this marriage, it was over, finished.
The death of Diana pushed the princes out onto the public stage in a way they had never been before. At first, William refused to walk behind his mother's coffin because he considered it a stunt for the media. Prince Charles and his advisors were worried that he might be booed or even attacked if the young princes were not with him.
It was Prince Philip who persuaded him to do so, with the sort of words, well, if I walk, will you walk? And if you look at footage today of that walk, you'll see that Prince Philip was talking to William all the way in that procession, all the way to Westminster Abbey, pointing out landmarks, just calming him down.
How wonderful life is while you're in the world.
10 years after Diana's death, the princes threw a fundraising concert in her name at Wembley Stadium in London.
Hello, Wembley!
For us, we were so lucky to have her, as our mother. And there's not a day goes past that we sort of, don't think about her and miss her influence, because, she was a massive example to both of us.
Prince William was largely protected from media intrusions while he was at high school at Eton. In exchange, the royal family would provide handout videos like this, and even allow the odd press conference. During his gap year experience in Patagonia, Prince William spoke about his struggle to come to terms with giving up his privacy.
Because I'm a very private person, and I still am a private person, but I learned to deal with it more. The problem is you can't go anywhere here to get space for privacy. There's always someone around you, you have to be with people. It's very difficult to get away for your own time. So that's one thing I had to learn to deal with.
During his first week at university in St Andrews, Scotland, once again there were restricted press availabilities. And then the world's media left town. The St Andrews experience nearly ended before it really began. By Christmas, William was desperately homesick, lonely, and wanted to quit.
I realised it would be a PR disaster for the university if he was to walk away. So a lot of effort was put into giving him some counselling and to let him change his course. And he moved from one course to another. We got him through that Christmas, and everything then was fine.
William spent 4 years at St Andrews University, untroubled by the media.
I had lots of kids come up and ask for my autograph. I've had grandmothers stop me and ask me if they know any good places to buy underwear.
Do you?
No, actually, I don't. I was a bit stuck by that one.
When the princes were very young, they loved playing around in helicopters, pretending they were driving. Their uncle, Prince Andrew, was a helicopter pilot who fought in the Falklands War in 1982 and would keep them mesmerized with stories of his own wartime adventures. Both princes learned to fly. William started on small trainers and eventually made the transition to helicopters. The minute William qualified as a pilot of heavy transport helicopters, the military allowed him to use one to go visit his girlfriend's country house. The Chinook flight cost an estimated £30,000. And when the story hit the British papers, it caused quite a scandal.
The episode with the Chinook is an example of that periodically the House of Windsor is no stranger to stupidity. I couldn't imagine anything worse if you want to perpetuate the monarchy in the 21st century to behave as if it's still the 18th century and you can commandeer a whole bunch of steeds and ride into the countryside at the taxpayer's expense. This was the modern equivalent of that.
Wrong thing to do. He got castigated in the media by it. He learned his lesson, hasn't done it again.
The royal family tried to counter the scandal with a series of media events designed to show the princes diligently going about their helicopter training and talking about their domestic life. At the time, they were sharing an apartment on the base.
Well, I cook him and feed him basically every day. I think he's done rather well.
He told us the other week that he did all the washing up.
He does do a bit of the washing up, then he leaves most of it in the sink and then it comes back in the morning and I have to wash it up.
Oh, the lies.
Unbelievable.
Do you end up finding yourself tidying up after him, or?
Yeah, a fair bit of tidying. He snores a lot as well. Keeps me out all night long. Not good for
people
Floyd.
are showing a bedtime.
No, I don't. I think that's very important we say that. Brothers, not lovers. Right? There's a difference.
The princes courted more scandal when they began to frequent some of the posh, wild nightclubs of West London, including Mahiki and Boogie's. There were always strict security to keep the media out. But courtesy of cell phone cameras, images of the royal party drinking, dancing, and carousing became widely available.
Come, boss, come.
There were always tense moments exiting the clubs,
Let's go on, let's get it.
when the princes would have to run the gauntlet of photographers. Harry famously attacked some of the photographers who were recording his public inebriation for posterity. Scandalous headlines would ensue, much to the displeasure of the prince's grandmother, Queen Elizabeth.
I think the reaction of the palace was be exactly what your grandmother would think about your grandson, going out on drinking binges and all the things that kids do. I think it's, kids will be kids, and exasperation, but also incredulity. Why would they enjoy doing that?
Both princes went through intensive military training at Sandhurst, and Harry was determined to put that training to use by going to war in either Iraq or Afghanistan. His first assignment to Iraq was pulled down when advanced media coverage turned it into a major security risk. Harry was disappointed and angry.
I wouldn't have joined the army unless I thought I was going to. Simple as that. If they said no, you can't go frontline, then I wouldn't drag my sorry ass through Sandhurst.
Eventually, Harry was allowed to serve in Afghanistan in total secrecy. The media were allowed to record these images of him on patrol, armed with a machine gun and a pistol, and firing a .50 caliber machine gun. As an air support controller, he even called in an airstrike on a Taliban position not far from his base. Harry's Afghanistan service was eventually cut short when word leaked out in the U.S. media that he was fighting there. William had watched the whole experience very closely and made it clear that he expected to put his military training to work in exactly the same way.
I didn't join the forces to be, like I said lots of times before, mollycoddled or treated any different. And as far as I'm concerned, in my eyes, if Harry can do it, then I can do it. I don't really separate us in that much difference.
There is one difference, which I think even he knows. Harry is not the heir to the throne once removed. William is being groomed to be king. And Charles did not go into any frontline service either, although he served in the military. I'm afraid these people in that special position are just treated differently.
Let's try a sit.
Apparently, the British government does see a difference. It became clear that the heir to the throne would not be sent to the front line. Instead, he has been assigned to search and rescue duties on Sea King helicopters in Wales.
I do not expect William ever to be put in that situation, because he is an heir to the throne, and I'm not sure Harry will be allowed back in Afghanistan. They got away with it, but I don't think they're going to try it again.
polls show that Prince William is far more popular than his father. That has led to calls from around the Commonwealth that when the Queen dies or retires, the crown should pass directly to Prince William, bypassing Prince Charles. Here at Buckingham Palace, of course, that idea is regarded as heresy.
I think it's a lot of bunkum. William knows his destiny, he knows he's number 2 in line, and he knows that he's not going to succeed his grandmother, but he'll succeed his father, unless his father predeceases him. That's the way it's done.
A lot of people will say, look, sorry, Charles, it's too late, it's over. You're too old, you're too steeped in the 19th century or even the 18th century. The monarchy demands that you step aside. The future of the monarchy, if the monarchy is to retain any kind of popularity and sense of being connected to the modern world, you got to make way for William.
Many believe or even hope that the death of Queen Elizabeth could bring an end to the monarchy. In Australia, polls show a majority in favor of transforming the country into a republic, and other countries in the Commonwealth could well follow suit. That is considered an unlikely eventuality in Britain itself.
Republican rears its ugly head every so often, but I remember very well at the time of the Golden Jubilee, there were in excess of 1 million people in the Mall. Now, they weren't dragged there kicking and screaming. They went there because they wanted to be there. They wanted to celebrate the Golden Jubilee.
We do like our royal occasions, and royalty, I think, is bound up into our DNA in Britain. William is seen by some, perhaps even the House of Windsor itself, as a great hope for the future.
A lot of people who support the monarchy would regard William as their get-out-of-jail card when it comes to republicanism, that he will save them from that. There is no doubt that the Queen's death will be a time for republicanism to re-emerge, both in Britain and in the Commonwealth, and that William may be their Tomahawk cruise missile in reply.
Any royal occasion brings up discussion of the legal bigotry that still clings to the British monarchy. For example, Prince William would not have been allowed to marry Kate if she was a Catholic, and if their firstborn child is a female, that child would be passed over in the line of succession if they later had a son. Prince William may have 21st century sensibilities, but he will likely have to help drag the British monarchy into the modern era as well. For The National, I'm Terence McKenna in London.